Hello. How's everyone doing? Welcome. Hello, hello. Welcome to the Oceano Wines Tasting Room. This is our first day that we've opened to the public. And for those of you who don't know me, my name's Rachel Martin, and I am the vintner of Oceano Wines and co-owner and co-founder along with my husband, Kurt Deutsch. And I wanted to open up the tasting room for those of you who want to know more about our wines and our winery, and to give you the opportunity to ask us any questions. Oceano Wines was founded in 2016. We specialize in Chardonnay and Pinot Noir from the coast of San Luis Obispo, California. I thought today it would be fun to taste our 2017 Chardonnay and 2018 Chardonnay side by side. I see we've had some people join us. If you happen to have the wines on hand, it would be really fun if you tasted along with me. Again, this is my virtual tasting room that we decided to open to the public so that we could get better acquainted and you could learn more about Oceano and maybe a little bit more about me. And if I could give you any guidance with our wines, wine pairings or serving temperatures, I'll give you all the tips that I do. But if you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the comments and I'll answer them as they come in. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Rachel Martin. I'm the co-founder, co-owner, and vintner of Oceano Wines. And I'm going to talk a bit about our Chardonnay. We started making Chardonnay in 2016. All of our wines are sourced from a single vineyard called Spanish Springs, and it is on the coast of San Luis Obispo, California, right outside of Pismo Beach. In fact, it's the closest vineyard to the ocean below the fog line in the state. The reason why I wanted to make wines from this particular vineyard is because it is the coolest climate in California. And that means higher acid wine, so brighter acidity, lower sugar, lower alcohols. But since it's the longest growing season in the state, it really packs the flavor per sugar content. So on my left, I have our 2017 Chardonnay, which is this bottle here. This is our second vintage of Chardonnay. And what's interesting is the packaging has changed a little bit from year to year. And that's just because it's an evolving company. So this is our 2017 Chardonnay. It's 3 different clones. We use clone 4, clone 17, and clone 809. This wine is fermented in French oak barrels. We don't do any malolactic fermentation. For those of you who don't know, Chardonnay typically goes through primary, of course, but secondary fermentation, which is the transformation of malic to lactic acid. And what that does is soften the effect of the acidity on the palate. And the wine is aged for 11 months in French oak barrels. We produced 600 cases of this wine, and we packaged it only in 750 milliliter bottles. It's currently sold on our website, of course, but it's in distribution on the East Coast mainly, and somewhat on the West Coast. But I am based in New York City, which might be a surprise to some people because we're wine producers. In California, the wines are made in Napa, but we reside in New York City. So I used to joke that I would commute, to California to go to work, but we're all commuting a little bit less these days. So the 2017 Chardonnay is, yellow in color, on a gold medium spectrum. And if you compare it to the 2018, it's darker than the 2018. The 2018 saw less time in oak. So if we go back to the 2017, it has a lot of pineapple. So what you have here is a lot of tropical fruit. And that's because of the, you always have the climate, so you always have the temperature difference from year to year, but it's also because of clone 4. So clone 4 is your typical California clone, and that's what you associate Chardonnay with in California. We use just a portion of that in the final blend. And so if you're a fan of Chardonnay that's made in a style that maybe is a medium to medium plus body, this is the wine for you, even though it's rich in texture, but also has great acidity, which makes it a really good food wine. So what we normally pair our 2017 Chardonnay with are, say, if you have something with a lot of flavor, maybe on our website, we have food pairings. So Dungeness crab cakes and a beurre blanc sauce. So you have the richness of the crab, the fattiness of the crab. But you also have like the acidity that cuts through that and complements very nicely with a rich dish. And it also goes amazing with other things, other meats. But I also like to talk about vegetables and things of that nature, because not all of us are meat eaters out there now, are we? For example, the 2018 Chardonnay is much, much brighter. The flavors and aromas are more of citrus and a lot of, let's see, one of my favorite descriptors is finger limes. I don't know if many of you have had cuisine that uses finger limes or lime leaf. So that those kind of flavors, much more high toned on the palate. And this I would recommend serving with, say, salads with the vinaigrette, or, I mean, it's a perfect oyster wine, to be quite honest, because it has a real briny character to it. The 2018 Chardonnay is also fermented in French oak, but the clones are the difference. So 2017, clone 4, clone 17, clone 809. 2018, we eliminated clone 4 because we were looking for a different profile. So we added 96 and replaced clone 4 with that. It is for French oak, fermented, 0 malolactic, just like the 2017, but it also has only 9 months aged in French oak, and this is a 700 case production. Yeah, hey, Allison, thanks for asking. The question is about the new oak versus used oak. And when you start a winery, you don't want to buy all new barrels. So you are, when we first started off, we bought some new barrels, we bought some used barrels. So the idea in the program is it's about 30% new oak, and then barrels that are used up to 2, maybe 3 vintages. So it's about, Allison, I would say it's about 30%, 35% on the 2018. And that's because we couldn't really source the used barrels that we needed, that we really felt were the quality that we were looking for. So if we can't find a quality barrel, then, we have to buy new. No, we're using regular Burgundy size barrels, which are 225 liters, but we're also using 500 liter barrels called puncheons for fermenting and aging the wine. So I hope that answered your question. If anyone has any more questions, that's what I'm here for. The 2018, we actually bottled in 3 different sizes. I love a half bottle. It's a great way to just enjoy wine without company. It's also an amazing way to course out a meal. So say, you're having something that calls for a white wine as your appetizer, your first plate. And then you follow up, maybe a heavier white, maybe a sweet white, or, maybe a red wine. So very versatile, the half bottles. We also bottled in Magnum as well as 750. So I can't wait for the day that we have so many people over. We just have to pop open a bunch of mags. Hey, Michael Scruggs is saying, what's up? Love you too. Bringing the Chardonnay on board. Sweet. And you're going to reorder the Pinot. Thank you. Michael Scruggs has Graze. It's a restaurant in the Culpeper area of Virginia. Maybe there are a lot of my Virginia peeps on right now. I was living in Virginia up until 2018 when I moved to New York City to move in with my husband, Kurt. I'm formerly the executive vice president of Boxwood Winery in Virginia, and I had an amazing time doing that with my family. But in 2016, I started this project along with Kurt. So I've got a lot of friends in Virginia, DC, Maryland, and I thank you all so much for your support. And obviously you like the wine. It's not just because you like me. Ken, no, not in Oregon, but I do ship to Oregon. On our website, we ship to 42 states. And if it's your first time purchasing wines from our website, you just use the promo code FIRST, and you get an automatic 20% off. So again, if you haven't ordered online before, use the promo code FIRST for 20% off. So the 2017, 2018 Chardonnay, the price point is the same. The ageability, let's talk about that. So the 2017, the acid profile is a little bit lower. You're welcome, Ken. A little bit lower. It is a broader mouthfeel. This wine, I believe, will not age as long as the 2018. 2018, super tight, super fresh, super complex. This will be the next wine we move on to in distribution. So the 2017 is now what we consider a library wine. We're not selling that to wholesalers anymore. That's just for you. It is still in distribution, though, on the East Coast. So look out for it in stores. Also on our website, we have a wine finder, so you can find out the closest store near you that carries our wines. I'm not doing the Pinot Noir today. I'll do that next week. This is every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So I could just say, hey, what's up? Get to know everybody, answer questions, just get familiar. So the 2018 Chard will be going out in distribution. Now it's our current vintage. And I guess let's just talk a little bit about scores, if you don't mind. The 2017 won Domestic Wine of the Year in the San Diego International Wine Challenge. Something that I was really not surprised. Well, yeah, sure. I was surprised. I didn't expect to get the largest award for that that competition, but the people who run it, Robert Whitley, he gave me a call personally to let me know. So we're very proud about that. And also it has 92 points by Venice Media, which I thought was really, really impressive for our second vintage. 2018, I just started spreading it around and seeing what people thought, sending it to some critics, and it was recently rated 93 points by Venice Media and 92 points by Wine Enthusiast magazine. So this is our third vintage, so not too bad for a young winery. Telling you, super long, really refreshing, excellent food wines. Are you guys drinking anything? What are you drinking? What's open? It's 7:15 on the East Coast. I assume I've got a few friends with some wine in their glass, or maybe a cocktail before they have the wine, not sure. So again, I just want to tell you a little bit about where our wines are made. So I told you how they're made. They're made by our winemaker, Marbu Mark. Marbu is based in Napa. He's been our winemaker since day one when we decided to start making wine from Spanish Springs Vineyard. It's not easy on the East Coast figuring out where you're going to make the wine and who's going to make the wine, et cetera. And so we were really, really lucky to find such a great winemaker as Marbu. And it was our viticultural consultant, Lucy Morton, who steered me in his direction. Hi, Nadine. Thanks for joining. Yes, I can talk about Spanish Springs Vineyard. Spanish Springs Vineyard is I walked on the vineyard in 2016. It's owned by Henry Warshaw, who is a very good friend, neighbor of my father-in-law, so Kurt's dad. Henry invited me to visit the vineyard. I had no idea that I was going to fall in love. I hopped on a red eye. I was just like ready to discover something new. And I was amazed by the proximity to the ocean. So that's 1.5 miles. But what also really impressed me was the soil combination. So it's limestone, sandstone, marine shale, and fossilized shells. It has relative elevations. It's in a canyon. So Pismo Beach, right, is 1.5 miles on Price Canyon Road. And there's a small mountain range that separates the ocean from Spanish Springs. Spanish Springs is planted within a canyon called Price Canyon. So it protects it from, rough weather. However, it gives this little sanctuary of a place, this little microclimate. But the marine fog just comes right over the mountain range or hill range and sits on top of the vineyard. So what that does, it obviously imparts some of that salt air that's within the fog itself, but it also allows the vineyard to rejuvenate. It allows it to, to sleep, mind you, to restore. So that has a lot to do with the brightness and of acidity and the ripeness. So you can have really great ripeness with fog that mitigates any heat spikes. So if you want to compare it to something like Fort Ross area region, that's above the fog line. So you have, the proximity to the ocean, but the heat is not mitigated by the oceanic fog. So when I visited the vineyard, God help me, immediately just said, oh my God, Henry, I'm freaking out. I want to make Chardonnay from this vineyard. And I want to purchase 3 tons of Chardonnay. And I had my idea is that, what clone I wanted to use or what clones I wanted to use, or multiple clones of each variety within the vineyard. Spanish Springs is 95 acres. They grow not only Chardonnay, they grow Pinot Noir, and we source our Pinot Noir from there. But they also grow Barbera, they grow Syrah, they grow Pinot Gris, they grow Viognier, they grow Albarino, and they grow Grenache. And so I'd love to, tinker with some of those grapes as well. We'll see what happens in the future. Unfortunately, they don't have a lot of Viognier because that would be my next project. I think it will be stunning. So eventually maybe we could get some Viognier from Spanish Springs Vineyard. But visiting the vineyard, made me create the brand. I felt that strongly about it. And can you imagine, Kurt and I were only dating at the time, and I was living in Virginia and he was in New York City, and I called, he's such a supportive person. I called him up and just said, hey, Kurt, what do you think about getting into the wine business? And he was game. God bless him, right? Those of us who are in the business know the business, and and it's not a simple thing. And quite honestly, nothing worth a darn is simple. And so Spanish Springs was the reason that I started Oceano Wines, and we named Oceano Wines that because of its proximity to the ocean, but also because there's a neighboring town. It's the 5 cities, the original 5 cities of the area, and one of them is called Oceano, and Oceano is like Americans would say, English speaking, whatever, like Oceano is Spanish for ocean, and I say it one way, I say it another, it just depends. But, it really speaks to the proximity, where the vineyard is. And so that meant a lot. And let's talk a little bit about our label. So, there we go. So Oceano, and then the seahorses are represent, it's not because they're cute. It's representative of the bond that Kurt and I have. It's a little bit of a romance story. We went our first trip together. We went on a dive, so we were scuba diving. We love to scuba dive, and we saw, it was one of our first dives. We saw a seahorse, which is extremely rare, and they mate for life. And also, it's the males that carry the babies. So for us, it was like, boom, mascot. But it was kind of something between us before we started Oceano. So when we decided, I don't know how things go, but whether we decided to have seahorses on the label or we decided to have Oceano first, I'm not sure. But it all just came together and made sense for us. And I know Nadine's had the 2018 and the 17. Before, Nadine, if you're still on, can you tell me, like, what, in your opinion, is the major difference between these two wines? I mean, you definitely can tell the oak aging, and a lot of that is in the nose. So the aromas, there's a lot more vanilla that comes off of the 2017. And it's more in a classic California style, but I definitely would say it's not a typical California style Chardonnay. And, that's because we don't do any malolactic. And so it's uncommon to ferment in French oak and not perform malolactic. And so you might say, oh, Chablis, maybe it's kind of like Chablis or whatever. But Chablis doesn't really see any oak. So I wouldn't say you could say that. I mean, people like to talk about, oh, it's French style or it's California style or whatever. No, I mean, it just is what it is. We have stylistic decisions that we make to make wines that we think are enjoyable. So number one, you have to enjoy the wine. So we want to make people happy through wine, bring them joy through wine, let them escape through wine, and then ultimately the pairing with food. So this is Oceano. This is our style. This is a stylistic thing, and this is what we want to be known for, and that is citrus driven, high tone, being able to ageability really matters to me, and just a wine that's sprung, a wine that's coiled, a wine that's ready to explode. And that's what I really find in the 2018 Chardonnay, that it has length in age, but it also really is long in the mouth as well. Hey, David, thanks for joining. Oh, you thought the seahorse, they would be so much bigger. Oh, I know the seahorse. When you agreed, the seahorse we saw was like this big, and it was with its little tail hanging on like hell to like a blade of seaweed getting pushed all around the place. And then it was like these people with tanks and goggles, this poor little thing. But yeah, it was like super awesome. Oh, I forgot that I'm supposed to be showing the questions. So sorry that I didn't do that. So thank you, David, for talking about the seahorses. I know that you like to dive as well. But cool, Nadine. Yeah, the 18. You know, acidity gives structure. You know, that's a really good point. When people think of structure in wine, in white wine, it doesn't only come from oak. It also is the acidity, the profile. And yeah, Cali Sunshine. I mean, it's California wine. What are you going to say? You know, the fog around 10:30 in the morning, the fog burns off, and it's full sun, and the winds kick up, dry off the leaves. You know, because you don't want. Hey, I mean, I made wine in Virginia for so many years. You don't want humidity in the vineyard, you know, and that's an issue as a coastal vineyard. So having strong breezes really matters. Yeah, so it's an amazing site. It's sunshine, and then it's really cool at night. So that's important for, you know, the wines that I like to produce. So ripe, no green flavors, and but high acid, so cool climate wines. Now, for example, if you talk about viticulture in Virginia, where I was producing wine and growing grapes for 15 or so years with my stepfather and my brother, you know, there is humidity is a major issue there, and you know, you absolutely have to spray and for humidity, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, you know, depending on your spray schedules. But starting in California, like producing wine in California, for me was just a huge, like, it was mind blowing, because I have been producing wine and growing grapes in Virginia for so long that it just seemed like so much easier. I was wondering, you know, what the hell was I doing? You know, I mean, Virginia wines are amazing Virginia wines, and but to produce wine and grow Vitis vinifera in Virginia, hats off. It's one of the hardest things you could ever do. And it's not that I quit. I swear to you, it's not easy to build a brand from scratch either. But I also, you know, Kurt and I thought about producing wine in New York because of the proximity. Yeah, Nadine, cheers to that. So much respect for Virginia wine. I mean, can't even tell you how near and dear to my heart that is. But we decided not to produce wine in New York. I just really wanted to, you know, move it over west, and as west as I could get. Gary, yeah. Hey, Gary, what's up? Gary Crunkleton, famous the Crunkleton. I know the wines. Yeah, and you know my wines too. Gary was kind enough to handle the bar program at Kurt in my wedding, and he did a fabulous job. But Gary, I just want to let you know that we're starting distribution in North Carolina and Oceano wines, and we're really excited about that. We have a wholesaler, 3 Keys, that we're going to start working with in Q1 of 2021. So look out. I'm going to be knocking on your door. That's for sure. But that's one thing that's amazing. You know, we don't have a brick and mortar tasting room yet with Oceano wines. The plan is to do so. And so this is the only way that I really can connect with everyone. And I appreciate everyone being here. with me tonight. But one of the ways that I can connect with people and have been used to connecting with people is through distribution channels. I love working with the restaurants. I love working with the retailers, and I love helping restaurants and retailers give their customers value, and that's where it's at. And then also, forging long standing relationships. Forever. And Craig, what's up? Yeah, I miss you too. Craig Rogers, everyone, Border Springs Farm. We all know his lamb, don't we? Can't wait for you to come visit in California, come by the vineyard, and then come up, meet Marbu, come up to the winery in Napa, make it a road trip. And yeah, Gary, that's funny. Inside joke there. Yeah, Allison, I can't wait for our North Carolina distribution too. And that's with 3 keys. And then we'll be moving into South Carolina as well. Last year, so 2020, we actually started selling wine in a new region. In Florida, but a specific part of Florida. We kicked off in the Marco area and up north through the Panhandle, and we'll be looking for the entire state in 2021. And then in New York, we have wholesale distribution, New York, New Jersey, through Frederick Wildman, and in DC, Maryland, Virginia, Delaware with Lanterna. I consider our distribution partners our extended family, and we're grateful to them and to all of our customers. And we have a wine club. We have a subscription model. So if you want to always stock up on Oceano wines, you could do that on our website. And I have started doing collaborations, artist collaborations, and you'll learn more about that in the weeks to come. So if there are any other questions, I can answer those. But one of the locations I'm looking at for a retail tasting room is in Middleburg. So Middleburg, Virginia, I'm doing a little bit discovery on opening a tasting room there. I've got my peeps in Middleburg and DC that I can get back in touch with and create a vibe, create something cool in Middleburg surrounding Oceano wines, but also other wines as well, hard to find wines. When you talk about commercial wine, and I was reading this article today about natural wine, and there was some comparison, natural wine compared to commercial wine and blah, blah, blah. But I think there's a huge thing, portion missing there. And okay, we don't have natural wines. Okay. So we select our yeasts. So we're not natural wine producers, but we're not commercial wine producers either. We're small producers. Everything we do with the wine, we think greatly ahead of time, minimal intervention. Our wines taste the way they do because of where they're grown. And then stylistically, we make decisions for the outcome. So like clone selections, barrel selections, aging, how much new oak, all of those things go to the character of our wines. But so we are small producers and we are artisans, and we consider ourselves artists. My background is in the arts before I got into wine. And that is the lens that I see wine is as an art. And you can read more about that as on our winemaking philosophy on our website, as written by Marbu, our winemaker. Marbu likens it to sculpting. So you can check that out. I also like to ask you to follow us on Insta. Please like our Facebook page. We also, we're dabbling in a few different things. Clubhouse, I'm just started checking that out, and I know Nadine has been doing that too. And I think it's kind of a cool platform, and and I'd like to get more engaged there. But we have a YouTube channel as well, so check us all out. And thank you so much for visiting me. I miss you all, and I look forward to making new friends through a virtual space. And when I come down to Virginia to start looking at retail spots, I'll hit y'all up who are in the DC area, and we can have a socially distanced glass of wine. Maybe by that time, some of us will have been vaccinated. Let's hope. My parents are getting vaccinated, and I'm pretty happy about that. I'm sure it's the same for a lot of your family members as well. But I want to wish everyone a wonderful evening, a great week ahead. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I guess drink more Oceano wines. Cheers, everyone. Come back Tuesday next week, 7 p.m. ET. Bye.